Prime Minister, he wants to see is instant results.
None of the savings and the money would go to ministers or anything like that.
An increase in price is understandable.
That sounds really promising. Hello everyone and welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. I'm Hazwin Hassan. It's been a week since the diesel subsidy rationalisation came into effect. While experts have said the inflationary impact will not be significant, we've had reports so far of businesses hiking up prices of goods and services unfairly. The government too has put in place mechanisms through the Budi Madani scheme and fleet cards to help mitigate this. But is it enough? Is this rationalisation getting off to a good start, or would it send prices spiralling up and out of control and burden consumers? Well, to help answer this and give us more insights into the whole situation, we have joining us via video call today Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Deputy Minister Yang Berhormat Fuziah Salleh. YB, welcome to Beyond the Headlines. I'm very pleased to have you with me today.
Thank you, Hazwin. It's my pleasure too. Thank you for the invitation.
Right, YB. So to start off with, I want to touch on how this rationalisation exercise is going to benefit us. So the Prime Minister assured that the 4 billion ringgit in savings yearly that the country would make out of this rationalisation is going to benefit the people and will be channeled into things like public transport services and to give more to the cash aid for the poor. And he stressed that none of the savings and the money would go to ministers or anything like that. So on that, YB, how soon can we see people's livelihoods improve?
I think if you look at how it will have impact on the infrastructure, of course, it will take more time. However, the way I see it, our Prime Minister is working like hand in hand. While he is giving more handouts to the STR, ataupun sumbangan tunai rahmah, at the same time, he is also rationalising the subsidies. You can see that in 2023, a total of 8 million was spent for the sumbangan tunai rahmah. But this year, it is estimated that it will be 10 billion. Yeah? 8 billion last year, and this year it is estimated to be 10 billion. So,
right.
And the beneficiary, there will be an increase in what they receive. Right. Last year, the maximum that they can receive was 3,100 for a family of 5 with 5 children. Right. And this year is up to 3,700. So you see, okay. I mean how the Prime Minister, he wants to see is instant results with regards to the cash assistance, but at the same time, we have to manage the rationalisation.
So, I mean, YB, that sounds really promising, and it's a jump of about 600 ringgit from 3,100 to 3,700 for a family of 5, correct?
There will be 7, family of 7.
So that's a lot to look forward to now, YB, with the implementation of the new Budi Madani scheme out of this rationalisation exercise, and to see how it will complement our existing central database system that we've just had up and running recently, PADU. That is really promising so far, as what you've told me. Now, I want to move on to something that has come as a result of the rationalisation since it was announced about a week ago. One of the reasons why the rationalisation exercise was done is because it will help to curb smuggling, to prevent bring down the numbers of smuggling, right? We have a smuggling problem across the border, especially up the north. So I'd like to just go back to what the government spokesman and communication minister Fahmi Faisal had to say. He noted that smuggling activities across the border in the north particularly has actually gone down. Now, I want to ask you, YB, we've only been into this, policy has been in effect only just barely about a week. It was just announced on June 10th. Do you think it's a bit too soon to make this call, to make this observation? Do you think it's a bit premature for the government to say this?
Okay, the exact data will have to come from the Ministry of Finance. However, in passing, we were discussing about the sales, in border towns
Right.
of the diesel have dropped tremendously. That is noticeable immediately on the 10th of June. It's a drop in sales of the diesel. What does that say? Because the number of vehicles does not drop. It's the same number of vehicles. So it does show that there is a possibility that there is a link to those to the drop. Why there is a reason in the drop.
Okay, and so clearly we are attributing this to the rationalization exercise, right?
We are, because as I said, the number of vehicles have not dropped at all. It's the same number of vehicles on the road using diesel and so on. And also with regards to KPDN, we have less complaints, or we have less infos with regards to the activities.
Now, do you think this is a bit too soon to say this and to tell whether or not it has helped to bring down numbers of diesel smuggling out of the country? And perhaps maybe is there additional data that you could perhaps share with me right now on what's actually happening at our borders?
Okay, the exact data will have to come from the Ministry of Finance. However, in passing, we were discussing about the sales, in border towns of the diesel have dropped tremendously. That is noticeable immediately on the 10th of June. There is a drop in sales of the diesel. What does that say? Because the number of vehicles does not drop. It's the same number of vehicles. So it does show that there is a possibility that there is a link to those to the drop. Why there is a reason in the drop.
Right, I understand. So in the future, moving on, I think this will further help to curb smuggling of fuel across our borders. Perhaps I think the kind of more tangible effect of this will come maybe 6 months down the road. Do you think? What's your take on that?
I think there will still be a possibility of smuggling taking place. The reason being, the price of diesel in other countries, our neighboring countries, are still higher than Malaysia. However, if those activities still take place, it will not tap onto the subsidies. That is the difference, because before this, it tapped onto the subsidies that the population of Malaysia, the people of Malaysia, should be enjoying. But now it is with the rationalization, the price of subsidy is floated. The price of diesel is floated. So it's the actual price. So they will not tap onto the subsidy. So the activities, I foresee that it may continue to happen because people are always looking for ways, but and plus the fact that the price of diesel in our neighboring countries is much lower than ours. But still, as I said, it does not take away the people's rights.
Right. Understand. So it's all about trying to contain subsidy leakages, which is obviously the most important thing right now. Now, YB, still on containing leakages of subsidies, one of the mechanisms that the government has introduced is the use of fleet cards and providing cash aids in the form of 200 ringgit per month to eligible diesel users. And I know your ministry has quite an expansive, a big list of those who qualify for it. Do you think that this is going to be rock solid, though, against any unfair price hikes and obviously leakages?
Let me talk about the inflation first. The biggest contributor to the consumer price index or inflation has been the food items, especially food consumed outside the home and food consumed within the home. This has been the biggest contributor compared to other items in the sectors of the CPI. That is why we are focusing the fleet card to the logistics, the transporters, the lorries that carry the essential goods.
I see.
So this is why we have identified the 14 categories plus the 10 initial categories. So the first initial 10 categories are land transport, and they have already been receiving the subsidies. And then we added the fleet cards to the 14 categories of transporters. So these are the ones carrying essential items, and there is no reason why there should be an increase in the essential items, because all of the lorries that qualify for the fleet cards are receiving the subsidies through the fleet cards.
And so do you think that this alone will be enough to prevent and curb inflationary spikes, YB?
It is a mechanism. There is no reason for an increase in price, as I said, or a price hike of essential items, especially on the items that is the food, which contributes to the CPI, as I said earlier.
Right.
However, there are always there's always the opportunity. When there is an opportunity, people will always use the opportunity to to hike the price. For example, I was studying the rental of backhoe. Before this, for example, it used to be 450 or 500 per day. And now, because they are not eligible for the diesel subsidies, because as I said earlier, they are not carrying essential goods. So due to that, they have already announced that they will increase their rental price by 150 to 200 ringgit a day. But look at this, yeah. We did a simple calculation. Every liter of diesel, there is an increase of 1 ringgit and 20 cent. And a full tank of the backhoe is about 120 liters.
Okay.
If for a full day work, for a 1 day work, normally the backhoe will consume about 60 liters. I mean, this is from the industries themselves. If it is 60 liters, you can actually calculate that the increase in cost will be 72 ringgit at 1 ringgit 20 cent per liter. And there is no reason whatsoever for them to increase the rental to 250 ringgit per day, which is nearly about double the extra amount that they spend on the diesel.
True.
The rest is the same. I mean, the cost of the operations is the same. So this is when we started to send out notices. Notices is like a show cause, okay? A show cause where we ask them to tell us and explain to us exactly what is the breakdown of their expenditure, because under the law, KPDN has the power to actually know the whole supply chain from the beginning till the end. Meaning that what is the cost of production, what is the cost of operations, what is the cost until the price that they offer to the public. So as at yesterday, we have issued 202 notices. Number one is when they already receive the fleet card and they are eligible for the subsidies, there is still price hike. So we send out the notice. When they are not eligible, and the price hike is too big and it is not logical, then we still issue the notice.
Right, so the notice itself, it's like what you mentioned earlier, YB, is a request for a show cause letter where they have to justify their price increase, yeah?
Yes, they have to justify and they have to break down all their expenses.
So is this the same kind of process that you're going to put all traders and businesses under as you go along with this rationalization exercise, somewhat like how GST was introduced way back when?
Yes, we will definitely do so. I would just like to share with you what happened when we floated the price of chicken. Very close watch. We kept a very close watch on the daily price of the standard chicken. And we noticed that in some towns, like in some states like Terengganu, there was a sharp increase in the price. And we slapped them with 18 notices and immediately the price went down because they could not justify why there was a sharp increase in the price. So for your information, we are monitoring closely. We have on a daily basis, our penguatkuasa, our enforcement officers are on the ground. And as at yesterday, there was 467 premises that have been inspected and 202 notices that has been handed out. And they are given only about 4 working days to reply.
I see. And this is nationwide, right? The notices that you've issued?
Nationwide. We have about 2,200 enforcement officers that are on the ground.
I see. So following the notices, if they fail to comply within the time frame that you've set, what would be the subsequent actions then taken on your part?
The subsequent action that take place is that we will open an investigation paper and then they may be slapped with a compound.
Okay, so speaking of compounds, now today it was reported in the news that your ministry has issued summons to at least 10 companies for doing just that, for raising prices on goods and services unfairly. And your minister, Dato' Armizan, said that the notices were issued to these companies under Section 21 of the Price Control and Anti-Profiteering Act. So again, we're fairly new into this policy, and I mean, I want to ask you, YB, are we going to see this kind of numbers moving forwards?
I remember Ops Kesan 1.0 when SST was increased from 6% to 8%. So the various premises that were affected involve like services, laundries, health spas. And I think the total number of inspection was quite a lot, was in the thousands. And there are quite a number of notices also being served. It is an ongoing exercise, but I think before this, it is hardly being reported because I think the data and the information was kept within the ministry prior to this. But with this, with the present government, we believe that it's important to share this information with the public because the public perception is that we may not be doing anything. So it's important to make the public understand that our enforcement officers are always on the ground doing their work, and it's important also to publish out the report. So this is what we're doing now.
Right, and it is definitely a timely thing to address right now because of the problem that we've had previously. I think you're alluding to the previous administration that there was underreporting and that they had not shared enough data with the public.
Yeah, I think it's a way, it's also how we do things. We believe that in being transparent, we believe that it is important for the public to understand the reason why we're taking any of these actions, because it is important for the public to understand that the subsidy rationalisation does not we do not work in silos. I mean, with the Budi Madani, there's three ministries that's involved. First, we have the Budi Madani individual that is under MOF directly. Then we have the Budi Madani agri commodity, that's under the KPKM, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Sustainability. And then the fleet cards, the SKDS, that is directly under KPDN.
Right.
But the enforcement is under KPDN. You see,
right.
the enforcement of under the Act of the Price Control Act and the Anti-Profiteering, that's under KPDN. So with that ability to implement, the Act, that is where we come in with the enforcement officers.
So YB, from your observations so far, I mean, you mentioned that there should be no reason for any unreasonable hiking up of prices of essential goods, right? But I'm just curious, since we do have offenders, who are the biggest offenders and violators of this so far? Because the one you've cautioned about after it was reported in the news was that we had towing companies that offer towing services, and concrete producers having raised their prices unfairly and unjustly. So can you tell me who the biggest offenders are?
I think everyone is trying their luck because there are, like, we have also complaints about some raising the price of their food items, which there's no reason for them to increase the price whatsoever, because the transporters that carry those food items are eligible under the fleet card. We also have all sorts of notices that has been made public, and that has made it a lot easier for us to do our work because it has been in the public domain, people sharing it. So we do not wait for the complaints to come in to us. We immediately take it from the social media. and our officers immediately started investigating.
Right.
But with regards to like the concrete mix, the mixed concrete lorries, also we noticed that there shouldn't be a very sharp increase, because even though they're not eligible, because they don't come under the essential goods items. However, if you calculate on the amount of the kilometers that they travel, the increase in the price should not be that sharp. For example, if they travel 200 kilometers, okay, to deliver the concrete mix, 200 times 1.20 times 1 ringgit 20 cent, okay? And then it will be divided by the cubic meters of the concrete that they carry. So it is not logical that some companies are saying that they're charging an extra of 12 ringgit per
Right.
cubic meters.
Yep.
So this is what I mean by profiteering. That is why what is exorbitant. And an increase in price is understandable when they have to pay the extra. However, why take advantage and charge exorbitant prices? So this is what we are investigating. This is what the notice are sent out for. And they have to answer that within a few days.
Right, okay. So now more on the public, as people who are using diesel as their source of fuel are now starting to feel the pinch. So what do you have to say to critics and perhaps some members of the opposition, namely, who say this rationalization was rushed and it wasn't done properly and perhaps used as a political tool in some ways to expedite certain things, even though the Prime Minister has been very clear about this whole policy that the Madani government is the only one that's had the political will to actually enforce it, as opposed to previous administrations that have been talking about this but never came to actually doing it.
I think I take the cue from the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister said that he will have to do what's right. He will have to do what's right for the people. He will have to do what's right for the country. And now that we are in the position to do what's right for the country, being populist is not the first in our top priority. It's not the top priority to be popular. Is to do what's right for the people. And there's too much leakages, and our subsidies are too high. We are feeling the pinch with regards to development. We can build more schools, we can build more hospitals, and but yet we inherited this blanket subsidy policy. So the answer is targeted policy, targeted subsidy, and this is what we're doing. I know it's difficult. I know there will be teething problems like we are facing right now with regards to system glitches and so on. However, we believe that this is the right way forward. My greatest concern, Hazrin, before we implemented this, because of the individual owners of the diesel vehicles, like pickups and jeeps, because most of them are in small traders, most of them. You see, for example, those who carry their goods, their vegetables, and sell to pasar tani, they are not registered. They don't register their vehicle as companies. Those vehicles are bought under personal names. So that was my biggest concern before this, because they don't fall under the fleet card system. Because the fleet card system, they will have to have a company to be eligible, and they will have to have a few vehicles to be able to register. But the jeep and the pickups are normally not registered as companies under the name of companies. So that is why the Budi Madani individual was implemented, was introduced. And this is where all of them can register. I was informed by the Minister of Finance, number 2 yesterday, the second Minister of Finance. And he said, yesterday, the number of registered Budi Madani individual have reached 100,000. So hopefully with that, we will be able to they will be able to absorb the cost, the additional cost on the when the price is floated, and hopefully that will also will not affect the price of the essential goods that they're carrying, like vegetables, usually pasar tani, usually the small traders, they are the ones who use those pickups and those jeeps. However, there are also some CEO of companies that drive pickups and jeeps. There is another eligibility requirement, which is an income of 100,000 a year. So based on these two requirements, we foresee that 80% of those who own jeeps and pickups will be eligible for the Budi Madani individual 200 ringgit subsidies. So and a big portion will be covered and will be eligible. So there's no, I mean, I'm very hopeful that we will be able to address and attend to the needs of the normal people. Yeah, and it's also important to, well, not to turn a deaf ear to those critics. However, it is important to I mean, when you have the political will, you put your heart into it and focus, and when you believe that you're doing the right thing, there will be critics, but you cannot please everyone. And I say it's not about being popular. Yeah, it's not having adapting a populist approach. It's doing what's right, and it's important also for us to keep listening to the needs that we may have overlooked. For example, there are a certain groups of NGOs, voluntary civil society groups, and they say that they are using those vans, those pickups especially, or lorries that does not come under the 14 categories, and because they are registered as NGOs, but they're doing it for charity work. So, and I'm telling them, write to us, and we will consider, and we will give them a case by case. We will look into it case by case.
I see. So people who are doing something for a good cause, like charity and these sort of things, will be considered a write-off, right?
Yeah, because you see, when we look at the three categories, there's one Budi Madani individual, there's one for the petani, the smallholders, and the small farmers, small scale farmers. They can apply under agri commodity, and in fact, they can even get both. If they have the name of the vehicle is registered under their own personal name, and they are also doing their small time farmers, they can actually apply and get the 200 ringgit in both categories. And then there's the third category, which is the fleet card. So you see, we are not saying that everyone we have covered everything. There we do admit that there may be small segments of the public that may have been overlooked, but we are not closing our doors. We are saying, yes, we will continue to engage, we will continue to listen, and we will take it case by case. Inshallah, Hazmin, we are doing our best.
I mean, it seems to me that every possible scenario that you could think of, there is a safety net for it, right? And as you mentioned earlier, with the individual Budi Madani scheme.
We will try our best, Hazmin, to ensure that everyone who's involved in the business of the essential items, will not be left behind. But for example, if there are people who need the concrete or the cement or the building, those needed in the building industry, in the construction industry, but they are catering for a certain groups. For example, they are doing renovations for the B40, for example. We also need to look into that. Yeah, but there is a small segment there. We are not totally closing our doors, as I say, but it's per case basis, and we are continuing to engage, and we are listening. And we are. I've already extended the invitation to write. I mean, when they tag me in the social media and they say, please write to me, write to us, and then we will continue to engage. And if there's a need to increase or to add on to the number of beneficiaries, we will definitely do so.
Okay, so speaking of the subsidy, expanding the subsidy eligibility, so after the rationalization was announced and the diesel prices started floating, a few days after there was a bit of a fuss, right, with some businesses hiking up prices unfairly. Now, your ministry then announced that you're considering expanding and adding on to the list of eligible transportation for these subsidies, which would include freight transport vehicles, and school buses. This would also include express buses. Now, again, just being curious here, why was it initially that school buses in particular were not considered for this? I mean, I'm thinking along the lines that school buses are actually quite essential. Shouldn't it be deemed an essential service?
School buses and express buses are already in the 10 category of land transport vehicles, even subsidies prior to this. They are eligible for a subsidy for the diesel, and the diesel that they can buy is at RM1.88 per litre.
Right.
Okay, whereas the fleet card is RM2.15 per litre. They have been receiving this for years. Okay, they have been receiving this benefit for years. It's just that they have a quota. They have a certain quota for the amount of liters where they get the subsidies. So in the past, when the price at the pump has been at 215, it's also subsidized. They didn't feel the difference between 188 to 215. But now the price at the pump has increased considerably to 325. So they feel the pinch. So now they're complaining, you see. So we are also addressing this issue. We are also looking at this, and we are looking at perhaps the total distance. We will not increase the quota as a blanket, like what they're asking is an additional of, say, 15,000 liters per month. Some may apply, some may not. So it is not rational. It is not rational to actually give it blanket increase in a number of amount of quotas. So we will have to look at it case by case. So you see, because of the difference in the cost, in the price of the diesel at the pump, that's why they're complaining. Before this even, some of the school buses have not even registered. They just go to the pump, because they go to the pump at the petrol station, and then they get the price at 215. So they say, well, that what's the point of registering? They don't feel the difference. And even when we're doing this exercise, some of them are registering for the first time. I think this is a problem with our public. The problem with our public, because we have been announcing about our programs for months.
Right.
We have launched the pilot early this year, and then we continue to engage, but yet people always do it at the last minute. And then suddenly when it was announced, everyone panicked. I think there's always also something to do with our culture, the way we behave, the way we do things.
I mean, it sounds to me like the mechanisms that not just the Madani government has carried out, but from the past, we've got fleet cards, we've also got the subsidies. It does sound like there's a huge potential for abuse now with the fleet cards. Can we address this? Because it cannot still guarantee 100% leakage free. So how are we going to go about this?
We are addressing it, because the fleet card, we have a system to monitor it. For example, Hazwin, if you're a user of the fleet card and you fill up your tank in one petrol station, and then 10 kilometers down the road, you fill up your tank again using the same fleet card, that sounds the alarm to us. Right. So we have a system to monitor that, what is reasonable and what is not. So during this period, in the early days, we are monitoring, and I would like to tell all of them that we are monitoring, and we have a system to monitor. So once we discover that there is abuse, then the company may be blacklisted.
Right. And are you getting the full cooperation from petrol stations as well? And how much is their level of involvement in all of this?
Yes, 100% cooperation support from the oil companies. They are the major ones. They have been working as our strategic partner, and they have always appeared in our programs. And they open kiosks both together with KPDN to educate the public, and also to make it easier for the registration of the fleet cards and so on. Because when they register for fleet cards, the first step is to register with our ministry, and then the once they're eligible on the 14 categories of the lorries, then actually it is approved almost immediately. Then the next step will be to apply for the fleet card, and they have a choice of 3 oil companies, whichever oil company that they want, and they can have 3 fleet cards. So they can have either postpaid or prepaid fleet card. It's up to the company. So the major oil companies like Petronas, Shell, BHP, Petron, Caltex, they have been very, very good strategic partners and given us full cooperation on this.
And how about the Petrol Diesel Association, the PDAM? How much is their involvement in all of this as well?
So far, they have also engaged with us, but usually it's more of the associations of vehicles, because the People Lorries Association or the Transporter for Vegetables Associations, they are the ones who engage more. Because in some companies, they have certain lorries that are eligible, and a few lorries they are not eligible. So this is why sometimes they need to engage more, and they need to discuss with us what they need to do with the lorries that are not eligible. That's why we keep adding to the number of lorries that is eligible. You see, initially it was 9, and then we added another 14, and we make it 23, and then we added the pickups and the trucks and give it to the individuals, because we understand that as I said earlier, those who do not register their vehicles under company's name, the small traders and so on, the small vegetable growers, the farmers, they don't. They registered it under their personal name. So these are all that the map is with us, and we see all of this.
So perhaps what will be your sort of underlying message to the public, especially those who are starting to feel like I might be ignored because I might not qualify for the subsidies because of the income group that they are classed in. They might think that they're not particularly in the bottom 40. So what will be your message then to allay their fears that the public seem to have right now?
I think number one, it's important for the public to understand that we are focusing on essential goods at the moment. Essential items, there are some which are not essential items. For example, tourist bus. They are not eligible. So when the people complain, and then the answer is, I mean, that is not essential. It is a choice. I mean, it is something that you would like to go on a tour. You like to go on a holiday. Yes, we are not denying that, but it is not essential. So we are focusing, number one, on essential goods and essential items. Okay, the transportation of essential items should not be a burden and incur additional cost on the transporters, and it should not affect the inflation rate. So this is our number one concern. Our number two concern is that my number two message is that it is not only for B40. This rationalization of subsidies will be benefited by bottom 80. This is how the government is looking at it. The B40, the M40 as well. So, and they will benefit. And the top 20, I don't think will be complaining, because I have one pickup that uses diesel. I don't think I should complain, because it's my choice to buy that vehicle.
Right.
I mean, let's look at it this way. Right. And I mean, if you want to buy a Rover and that uses diesel, and I don't think that, and your income is more than 100,000 a year, I don't think you should be complaining that you're paying more by 1 ringgit 20 cents per liter for the diesel. So this is where the bottom 80 will not be left behind. It's not just the B40. The middle 40 will also be benefiting from this, because the middle 40, if you look at it, it will be the ones that have an income of about 8,000 plus a month. They will also be benefiting from this. So it is not just a small group of people. Yeah. So this is a message that we would like to tell to the public. And it's important. I know many of our critics are making the situation more confusing for the public. They are not giving the full truth. What they present in the social media is not the full truth. Yeah, so it's important to understand what the government is doing, and also to compare with what they are receiving. And last message, it's important also to communicate directly with us, and we will do our best. For example, there was one video that was viral earlier today about the price of the cooking gas, which there was a price increase on the cooking gas. And immediately I've asked for my officers to investigate where that video is coming from. Because cooking gas, we have a cap on the price of cooking gas, and it is one essential item where you cannot just increase the price. And the transportation of those LPG vessels are also given subsidies. So the problem is that when they report to the social media, we have difficulty tracing the source of the video. We have difficulty to identify which shop, which trader, which town. So that will take more time. Whereas it is, if they can immediately tell us, then it will make our investigation faster. Like, for example, what went viral with regards to the notices about the price increase in certain items, and the name of the company is there, the address is there, we could easily send out the notice, within 1 day. And we did that. But when it just went viral and we don't know where it is coming from, the source, we could not actually, our enforcement officers cannot do the investigation. So it's important to communicate correctly and allay fears, because don't create panic. Because when the public panic with a certain news, it doesn't help at all. So I mean, this is a very difficult time. We have a war room. We have a war room for this. It's managing the crisis at the moment, but I believe that it will die down by next week, when everybody begin to understand, when they see how they will benefit, and they understand how they will benefit. I believe that.
Okay, now YB, one last question before I let you off. So you said that instead of going to social media to post their complaints and then making it more difficult for your ministry to then trace and track the problem down, where the video is coming from and where the source of the problem is, what is then, can you recommend, the easiest way for the average person to forward their complaints?
We have our Ops Kesan aduan bekalan. We have our Ops Kesan aduan bekalan, which is a QR code, and we also have a phone number. I cannot give you offhand, but we can give you later, and then you can show it. That they can send us a WhatsApp message, and it will go direct to the Ops Kesan, because the Ops Kesan is a special operations specifically that we set up for this particular subsidy diesel rationalisation. This is a special complaint line where we have set up, Ops Kesan, because we have also other complaint lines within the ministry.
Thank you so much, YB, for your time and speaking to us on Beyond the Headlines. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
Well, that's it for this week. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel here at NSD Online. Don't forget to also follow us on all the socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and X for all the latest news and updates. Be sure to turn on that notification bell so that you never miss out. Well, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. This has been Beyond the Headlines, episode number 42. I'm Hasbin Hassan, and until next time, it's goodbye.